Greetings everyone, welcome back to another episode of Dumping Grounds, where I showcase decks that don't make the cut for videos on my channel. Before I start off, I'd like to give a couple of thanks. First off to Alciende from Netrunner DB for officially adopting the unicorn symbol for the most wanted list restricted cards. Thanks very much for that. Making it universal and consistent is always nice. And I'm really sorry if I butchered your name once again. I just can't get it right. Another big thanks goes to the JNet devs, especially Neil Terrell, who has put in so much effort into delivering the sovereign site implementation of the cards on Jinteki.net at the swiftest. I think the implementations came out like literally days after the spoilers were released for sovereign site. So that was amazing because I took a bit of a break. The channel slowed down a bit during the Christmas to New Year break, and I expected the lull to go on for at least a week more because the JNet devs would be busy implementing the cards. But to my surprise, when I logged into JNet, I was able to play with those cards. They showed the art for the cards showed up, and not only that, most of them were implemented by New Year. So that was really amazing. A big thank you to the JNet devs and especially Neil for being so on top of it. So speaking of successful demo, yeah, it was quite important to get these cards going on JNet because it allowed me to get my successful demo videos going. And so far, I've covered 4 of the 20 cards in the new pack. Well, technically, each of these got one video, but I did touch on some of the other cards, Naja 1.0, Yusuf, and Echo Chamber in passing during these episodes and on some other videos as well. So once those are factored in, you realize that I actually covered near about a third of Sovereign Site so far, which is pretty okay. I won't be covering the whole pack as per usual. For those of you who have been through with me for successful demo, you would know that there are cards out there that I feel are either not that good or are just not well placed in the current meta, or require more support later down the line, especially with this being the first pack in the cycle. So these cards that I'm about to grade out are those that I've identified as cards that are probably not that good right now for one reason or another, and as such you would not expect me to do a successful demo on these cards, at least not for the time being. In future cycles or future packs even, this might very well change. Some of these might become very strong and I might revisit them, but for the current Sovereign Site meta, I won't be touching these cards. For the remainder, well, I won't promise to do them all, but I have videos coming up, at least one, that will cover some of these. So look forward to that in the meantime. But for now, one thing I really want to talk about before going into Dumping Grounds itself is that I would like my demos to be more successful. So far, they have been pretty successful, not gonna lie. They have been receiving I've been receiving a lot of good comments from you viewers, and this has been one of the more successful, if not the most successful series on my channel so far, and a big thank you to y'all for supporting me. But this could be even more successful, and for that, I beseech your support to make this work, because what would really help fellow players, especially the newer players who want a different perspective on some of these cards, are YouTube comments that showcase you viewers playing these cards yourselves, trying out these cards, and adding your 2 cents or 2 pence worth in the comment section, letting other people have a different perspective on the cards that I present. So if you do have the opportunity to play with these cards and get some games going with them with your own decks, or maybe you're borrowing my deck, that's fine as well. Do let me know in the comment section, which card do you try playing, what motivated you to play it, what sort of deck do you play it in, what sort of crazy or interesting plays do you pull off with that card, and was the card above or below your expectations. These are just some questions to think about when trying these cards, and honestly, it's a good framework for you to evaluate cards yourself. I think many of us right now are pretty reliant on top tier players judging cards for us, and reliant on store champ winning decks or tournament winning decks to show up featuring these cards before we can say, oh, this card is good, this card is competitive. We can make these evaluations ourselves. It's only whether we want to, put in the effort to do so. And I urge you to do that because it's really fun. And it goes to show that I'm not the only one who can make successful demos happen. You can too. Just think about these questions when you play around with these cards and share with the world. I'm sure everyone will be excited to learn about what you have to share with everyone. For example, the Upper White commented on my by any means successful demo video, hinting at us about a very interesting combo that I did not manage to cover in my video, using information sifting with by any means, which is possible. That is pretty crazy. Yeah, not only do you get to access half your opponent's hand, you get to trash all of it while doing so. That's a really cool synergy. I didn't get to showcase it, but this is the kind of comments I'm looking for. People adding their own, interesting ideas to the mix. And as you can see by the upvotes, this is something that fellow viewers will appreciate very much. So I hope we'll get more of these comments in the near future. Ideally with support from games that you've already played or personal experience playing these cards, because nothing beats actually testing these cards out for yourselves in real games. Okay, I've rambled on long enough. We'll actually get to the dumping grounds right now. The first is this NEH deck that I talked about in the Kelly testing video. This was my failure of a deck that I thought would work pretty decently, and I wanted this to be my Kelly testing successful demo deck. It did not work in the end. Basically, the idea of this is to build a CTM asset spamish deck that goes faster than CTM and that has more influence to go faster than CTM. So you are able to actually squeeze in the team sponsorships, Maryland campaigns, foods, and still have remaining influence to play advanced assembly lines, which accelerates your card draw immensely because it allows you to trigger NEH on the runner's turn. So the idea for this was to just go super fast and, use Kelly testing to win, chain into multiple Kelly testings and, just secure the game before your opponent can set up their breakers. This is bolstered by AR enhanced security, which basically serves the purpose of CTM's ability once you score it. So it was a pretty solid idea in theory, I must say, bolstered by all the good ice with remaining influence to spend on fetch out too. I didn't think this could go wrong. Unfortunately, in my testing games, I ended up butting against an Alice Merchant deck, and that just completely ruined me because this deck is not meant to ice every single server. So I kept bleeding cards from hand, and it wasn't fun having to ice all three centrals because this deck doesn't want to ice centrals all that much. Yeah, you just want to go fast. You're okay with leaving a couple of servers open, but with NEH, you can't leave HQ open because you're bound to draw agendas, and having to defend archives as well against Alice Merchant makes it all the more tougher. Also disrupts the Seesaws exchange combo that I have going there. So yeah, it has a couple of weaknesses, pretty glaring weaknesses at that, so I didn't really like this deck all that much. Now another NBN deck which also involved Kelly testing. If you remember, this was actually the deck from the live stream I did very early on, where I showcased Yusuf, Echo Chamber, and Kelly testing. This was slightly modified from the original version and was my backup plan for the Kelly testing episode. Well, suffice to say, it didn't make the cut either. I thought this was a really decent deck, and I thought NBN finally had a decent glacierish deck that could at least make tier 2 NBN look good. Again, that was not the case. So the problem with this deck is that it's highly reliant on the Breaker Bay grid surviving. And without the Breaker Bay grid, this deck just completely falls apart because NBN still doesn't have enough good money to res toll booths while using Kelly testing or Echo Chamber. The other problem, as I mentioned in the Kelly testing video, I think, was that there are too few agendas in this deck which you want to score aggressively. Project builds don't do anything to further your game, they're just worth 2 points. You don't have team sponsorship to increase your tempo. And yeah, AR enhanced security, there's only one in the deck, and it's only worth 1 point. So all these factors really work against you. Your agendas are just not that good, which is why this deck just didn't work out in the end. You end up dragging the game so long that the runner just wins off centrals anyway. Right, Unfortunately, this entire Dumping Grounds episode is dedicated to NBN because I have yet another NBN deck which I thought was really good. This was one of those times where you suddenly have a really good idea with certain Netrunner cards comboing it with each other, and you so desperately want to try them out, so you fudge together a deck and bring it to your local game night store, or in my case, bringing it to JNet, and then just get completely, utterly crushed. And you ask yourself, but I thought that was a good idea. And again, this goes back to what I said earlier. Nothing beats playtesting, because only when you actually play decks for yourself can you see those flaws that you weren't able to the first time. So I thought this deck would be really good. This is a deck that basically forks the runner and click compresses them to oblivion. You have Zealous Judge, which is ideally protected by a decent remote. At the worst case, the runner trashes it but is forced to give up tempo and expose themselves to hard-hitting use. The best case is the Zealous Judge stays there, and you eventually build a second remote where you score your agendas behind. That second remote can have an ice such as Data Raven, which allows you to get the Zealous Judge rezzed, or it could simply be a project build protected by a price sec, because runners have basically no way of defending against tags. Ever since New Angeles City Hall disappeared from the card pool, it is basically impossible to get rid of the price sec tag unless you're running Forger or Dome Computer, which are pretty off meta. So my idea here was that with price sec, you can easily score these agendas that you have, and if the runner contests them, well, they can get the agenda, but they are giving up the Zealous Judge, and they can't trash the Zealous Judge without going tag me, which opens them up to your close accounts, your hard-hitting use, your exchange of information, all these wonderful cards that we all know and love from Sync. Now, can you see why this deck doesn't work? I mean, it even has shipment from 10 in if the runner plays too passively and doesn't take tags. Well, the problem with this is Misdirection, which is a fairly common card that Shapers use to defend against the likes of CTM, but also against NBN in general. The problem with Misdirection is that, sure, Misdirection cannot defend against Zealous Judge tags, right? Because Misdirection requires clicks to use, they cannot avoid the tags that are given out by Zealous Judge on the co-op's turn. But on the turn that you are trying to fork the runner by forcing them to run both the Zealous Judge and your agenda that you're trying to score, they can simply run both remotes, take all the tags in the world on those first two clicks they run your two remotes, and then clear them all with Misdirection. And there's nothing you can do about it, because your Zealous Judge is gone, you can't use it to tag the runner, they have no tags at the start of your turn, and you could throw a hard-hitting use, but they just clear it with Misdirection again. Misdirection hard counters this deck very, very much, and it was so bad that at the end of the game where I got pooned by Misdirection, I told myself I need to put Best Defense in there since Misdirection costs 0 to install, but you have to worry about SACCON as well. So it just keeps going, right? The hate gets worse and worse, and there's no way you can do anything about it. So by the looks of it, I don't think this deck can work simply because Misdirection is too powerful against it. That one card just single-handedly shuts down this entire deck, making your sentries, your tagged sentries, which are usually very taxing and powerful, basically useless, rendering your identity null, and just completely stomping over your win condition. It's really unfortunate, and especially since tag removal isn't supposed to be Shaper's forte, but it is what it is. Well, this deck might have to find another time, another place to be good. For now, we'll just shelve it, and maybe you can have fun with it, maybe crushing unprepared players who are not packing Misdirection at your local meetup. Alright, with that, we've come to the end of episode 2 of Dumping Grounds. Once again, I'd like to remind you to do share your experiences in the relevant successful demo videos to help make the successful demo videos more successful. All your input is very much appreciated, and I look forward to hearing your experiences with these cards that have just been released. Kitara Cycle is going to be fun, and I know you all are enjoying it as much as I am. So yeah, do share the joy with everyone. In the meantime, as always, thanks for watching, and happy net running. Goodbye.